Happy Whiskey Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to the Bologna Show presented by the Chicago Sports Bums. I am Bologna. I'm here with my Bourbon Bums partner in crime, HBIC, Jason. Welcome back to the Bologna Show.
It's Whiskey Wednesday. I had to be here. So if we're talking bourbon, my man.
I got a little pregame pour. I was getting the show ready and, wetting my whistle a little bit because we got a really special show for you guys. I've been looking forward to this for almost like a couple of months now. We've been, doing the scheduling thing and planning it all along. But we've got Bobby Demars of Blind Barrels joining us. We've got this fantastic blind flight. We'll talk about it once Bobby's on, but I'm ready to get things going before we bring on our guest. Jason, we got a little business to talk. So before we talk whiskey, I definitely want to ask you, what was your pregame pour?
So this is hot in the streets right now. Just got released. It's the 2026 Boar Rye from High West Distillery, batch 26A14. So fresh out the kitchen. We know we love the Boar Ryes. Obviously, I think some of the older Boar Rye.
Yeah, back in the day, those were elite. Those were fun.
But, just popped this about 15 minutes ago. It's pretty damn good.
Okay.
They might have gotten their, if Stella got her groove back, I think Boar Rye got its groove back.
That's good to hear. I think we're gonna have to, I might have to make a visit to the bar, do a Bourbon Bums review on that in the next couple weeks.
It's definitely gonna be on tap.
All right, so this is an all things whiskey episode of the Bologna Show. So we might as well talk a little whiskey business, Jay. I've got a little ad queued up, but then we could announce. We're not gonna announce, the food offerings for whiskey at Comiskey, but we're gonna tease them for Monday night on the Bumpcast. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, our Whiskey at Comiskey tailgates are back for the 2026 White Sox season. Join us for the White Sox home opener in Lot B on April 2nd for an afternoon filled with food, beer, liquor, and some good old-fashioned Chicago Sports Bums nonsense. Our first tailgate of the season is fueled by Maker's Mark Whiskey, Off Hours Beer Company, Manuscrito Tequila, and Jepson's Malort. RSVPs are now open. You can find the link pinned to all our socials. See you April 2nd. Go Sox. April 2nd in Lot B. Jason, you're taking care of the RSVPs. The RSVP link is in the YouTube description on the show. It's pinned all over our socials on Instagram and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. What are we looking at numbers wise? You don't have to break it, but I think it's.
I will break it because I'm very happy. So we launched this Monday at 9:00. It's been almost 48 hours since we announced that RSVPs were open. And we already have 175 RSVPs.
Hell yeah. Attaboy, ladies and gentlemen. That's good to hear.
I love it because, obviously, opening day for us was big last year. We had over 200 people. We're going to smash that number by a big amount, already 175. We haven't even announced the food, which we're going to do on Monday. And just the fact that, people have been so hyped about, are you dropping a schedule? When you dropping a schedule? When you opening up RSVPs? We love that our fans, our followers, have been so excited to come back for another season of Whiskey at Comiskey, and I just can't wait to party with everyone April 2nd.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I mean, bear season really got us over the hump of the doldrums of sports, but I'm excited that baseball is back. I'm excited that, we'll be back in Lot B. And a lot of what we do at Whiskey at Comiskey is like we talk about, right? Bourbon is meant to be shared. Whiskey is meant to be shared. When we started this, before we even had sponsors, we were just bringing bottles from our basement and letting people try new things. I make the joke all the time that everyone's dad just looks over and says hey, what do you guys got going on over there? And that's how we, kind of foster that culture and, of sports and whiskey. And we're going to bring on our guest now because he's doing something very similar when it comes to whiskey and learning and kind of finding new things and exploring new avenues. That's not just the same, big brands and different things like that. So we have the founder of Blind Barrels. This is our special guest, Bobby Demars. Bobby, welcome to the Bologna Show / Bourbon Bums crossover.
Hey, thanks for having me on. What you welcome for? I saw you got the Boar Rye. What are you pouring over there?
Oh, so I did a little bit because I knew I was doing this flight, and I always like to start off with something just like a base level whiskey to start off with. And I typically do that with just like a wild turkey, whether it's a 101
Okay.
or something like that. Today I went with the Old Forester, the 10-year-old Forester. So a little bit
Dude,
more elevated.
I have the same. I got the same one, dude. I swear to God, I just poured
Hell
that.
yeah.
The
So, yeah.
1924. Yeah.
Yeah, 1924. That's what I poured
We're
today. And
drinking
I
the same
thought,
exact thing. We synced up. Look at that.
salute.
Mind-melded across states. Cheers.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, that burr I haven't tried it yet. I'm glad we got a vote of confidence from you, HBIC.
Yeah. This is I think the last couple of releases where they were trying to figure it out, get back in the groove, and I think they did this time. So 101 proof, 10 years, at least minimum 10 years. But I think I read somewhere that it's got up to like 19.
What did you pay for it?
So I got this at Costco for $100.
God damn it, Costco.
We love to hear that, Jay. No,
that's what Costco does. That's actually not even that far from wholesale. Like I just got 2 cases of it. We're gonna add on our site for members. It's gonna be Bobby Stash. So we're gonna sell like Midwinter Night's Dram for like $120, and I'm gonna sell the Burreye probably for $100. But it's like the idea is that we don't lose money when we sell it, but we just want to give another perk to members. You know what I mean? Part of it, it's a subscription, but I would say it's a membership because you're getting access to these brands that you normally could get access to.
So yeah, let's talk about the subscription and what Blind Barrels does before we really get into the pours, because I got my 4 pours out here. But for the people listening and the people watching, let them know what Blind Barrels is all about, because it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, so we're the first and only double blind whiskey experience. So double blind means you don't know what it is in the beginning. Single blind, basically, you know what they are, you just don't know the order of them. And I'm like, that's not really that's fun, right? But being completely blind, you don't know what they are. Our rules, it's got to be American, it's got to be craft. Craft has kind of dispelled the myths over the years of just like everyone's like, oh, craft means crappy. No, I'm telling you, we only pick bangers for the box. Now I'm not going to say you're going to love everything in the lineup, but you're going to fall in love with 1 or 2 of them. And if I got 20 people in a room, 3 will say A is their favorite. The same will be true for B, C, and D. And there's always someone in the room that hates one of them. So you can't make everybody happy. Everyone has a different palate, or maybe you had some Toshito peppers that day and it just messed up, your flow. But this was a COVID baby, basically. My backdrop, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Went to USC on a football scholarship. I was in the business scholars program there, and I was also the first player to get into film school there. And I made some documentaries. One that took on the NCAA that played a pivotal role. So I was on the oversight committee for the nonprofit that created the NIL laws that for the state Senate hearings and played for the Supreme Court. We set out to change the system, and we were one of the many components that helped change the system and give athletes more rights. And when we started making the film a decade ago, it was very controversial, and now it's pretty commonplace. I'd say the only thing that happened that pisses everybody off is the transfer portal, right? I mean, coaches could do whatever they wanted. Coaches could always go to bigger, better deals, and people still want to believe in the purity of college sports and the supposed purity of amateurism, but the reality is it's always been a farce. I mean, amateurism itself was started as a separation of class. It was basically the wealthy elite wanted to create amateurism so that the working man that was working 6-7 days could invest him in his leisure, and so it was a way to keep their thumb actually on the lower class. And so, kind of ironic that it got turned into this supposed pure thing. In the Olympics, Pierre Coubertin, when he started the Olympics, the old model in ancient Greece, you were paid like if you won an event, you didn't have to pay for ouzo the rest of your life. You know what I mean? And so this idea that we created this supposed purity around something that wasn't really pure, and ultimately was exploiting these athletes because the schools were cartels because they controlled the supply by limiting the price and the value of what they were actually worth. And I know people are like, well, I got student debt. That guy doesn't have. Yeah, but that guy's worth more than you. So I'm sorry. The dog on the billboard, he gets paid. The newborn baby in the movie that doesn't even know its own name. Yeah, he get paid too. So we somehow like, okay, this guy doesn't need to be paid. So we set out to change the system. There was a hard film to make. We spent some time in Chicago. I got kicked out of a hotel there.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we were there. We were shooting like Notre Dame stuff, and I love Chicago, but I'm in this block of hotels, and I'm a big dude. I'm like 6'5", 270, and I had a room with a rollaway because we're on a budget. You know what I mean? It's two big guys and we get a rollaway, we just get one hotel room. And she's like, well, there's no rollaways, even though I specifically called to make sure. And all I did was I said, well, that's unacceptable. And I took off my coat. And apparently that's what makes 5 cop cars show up. And then,
wow.
Yeah, I know. You just can't say unacceptable. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I'm not that kind of a guy at all. But I was like, all of a sudden these 5 cop cars. I'm like, whoa, somebody got murdered. And then I was like, oh, that's for us? Really? And then they like barred us from staying at any of the hotels in like that whole block. And I was like, okay, it's 3 a.m. We got to sleep before the flight. So I don't know. But I still love Chicago. And so made that film during COVID. A lot of film projects, everything just died, right? Like the industry died. I have a test prep company that I started that all of that died. And my buddy was doing blinds during COVID. And I'd done it with wine. I'd never really done it with whiskey. I was more of a drinker than a taster.
Okay.
And I didn't really realize just how nuanced whiskey could be until that experience and how wildly different, not just the difference between a bourbon and a rye, but man, ryes can be all over the place. You know what I mean? You put a finish on a bourbon, you do any of this stuff. And I called him my buddy and I was like, this feels like a business. Now I'd had 8 samples and God was pulling my cheeks a little bit. And he says, yeah, okay. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. So I kept calling alcohol beverage control attorneys and doing free hour-long consultations. I did 16 of them until I figured out a way to do it. And I'm tenacious. I get after it, and we found a way to do it. I actually have come up with 6 ways to do it. We now do the best and legal way. I can't share the way to do it.
Maybe later after the show.
I'll tell you, but it is difficult to get other people's whiskey into our bottles and to then ship it to 44 states. There's spirits and beer are just highly, highly regulated. So there's a 3-tier system involved. When Prohibition ended, the producers, the people that make it, have to pass through a distributor, and then the retailer has to purchase it from a distributor. So you have to involve all those 3 tiers. You can't just be in a basement with a funnel. The way that you make, the way you
like
make
good old days.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just throw it in a grape juice jar and call it a day.
Homer Simpson.
And then, we launched in about 4 years ago and, just did a lot of grassroots stuff, had a couple hundred members, and now we've got about 5,300 members in 44 states. And
that's unbelievable.
That's cool. Very cool. Yeah. I agree with you on the shipping, like distribution with distilleries. Cause that's like Old Forester, for example, like they don't ship to Illinois. They ship to like North Dakota, New Hampshire, Wyoming. And it's like Illinois is, 300 miles away. Come on.
Yeah. With distilleries, it's tough. There's states that have reciprocity and there's states that don't. So like Kentucky actually did this whole thing where they don't, and I was hoping Kentucky would really lead the charge because the wine industry, you can ship all over the place.
Yeah.
And California really led that charge in the 70s. And so wine isn't restricted at all. And wineries can ship all over the place. Distilleries are very limited, oftentimes within their state, can't really go interstate. There's a lot of different things with retailers that have different loopholes. Washington, D.C. is, if you're going to go start a distillery or become a retailer, go to D.C. because that's the Wild West. You can kind of do anything there.
Nice.
I think Indian land, you can get away with some stuff too, but you got to get through the tribe, and we've dealt with that too. So we try to come up with every possible way that we could do what we do. And yeah, there's some states that we just can't, like you don't really mess with Utah.
Yeah.
Hawaii,
I can imagine. Yeah, Utah is a little bit more stuffy, a little bit more restrictive.
I mean, if you send a shipment with a signature to a remote spot of Alaska, it's like $270. So some of that's just like, all right. And someone's like, what if I want to pay that? I'm like, I don't want to come up with the shipping rules and the thing. It's not even worth it.
Not worth it. Yeah.
Exactly. Over it. But yeah, we don't choose brands in the lineup. We choose whiskey. So what happens is we get sent sometimes 1 SKU, sometimes 8 SKUs from a distillery. And I set up blinds for my guys, my whiskey wizards, my spirits guys, as I call them. And we do everything blind. Now there are some brands that we really love. There's the Ben Halliday bottle over here. We know we love Ben Halliday out of Missouri.
Yeah.
And so that was just, hey, how do we get your cast strength Rick House in the lineup, right? Some of the stuff we had heard before but hadn't had. So like JT Mellick. If you haven't had JT Mellick, I mean, it's 100% Louisiana rice whiskey that they grow in the rice fields where they grow crawdads, crawfish. And you were like, what the hell? I'm drinking rice whiskey. It tastes like the deepest, rich bourbon that you've ever had. So we're trying to find these diamonds in the rough. Some of them are only distributed in their native state. So we're really giving people access to brands that aren't even outside of their state, and paying for a full bottle less than if you were at the distillery yourself.
And you talked about it, and I know it mentioned on your website and in the box, you're trying to remove brand bias. And I think that's a big thing, especially in whiskey, when Jason, and we're all kind of at fault for it, but like when you start into your journey, immediately you realize, oh, I like this. And then all of a sudden you start hunting or at least like, trying to get like the big brand bottles, the Buffalo Traces of the world, the
Wellers.
The Wellers,
the
and
purple
all that
tops, the Willet purple tops. Now,
Yeah.
if I see a Willet purple top at MSRP, I'm buying it, right? If I'm at
Immediate.
Costco and I see that Burai, I'm buying it. If I see a Pinhook at Costco, I'm buying it. There's some bottles that you just go out and you buy. If you like, I got a bottle of Pappy 23 this year for MSRP at Costco, which was
Costco.
like
Costco.
I had a
Pappy,
little
that's-
birdie.
damn.
I had a little birdie that there was like 2 Costcos in the area, and knew a guy that was dating the girl with the hearing that did the hearing thing over there, and I had my dad on the way too. He was 5 minutes behind me, but that guy's mom, like whatever, got there right before my dad did. But I paid $400 for that, and we actually gave samples of that to our members that did our live tasting. So we do live tastings twice.
I thought this smelled like a Pappy 23.
Yeah, is that so? Let's talk about pour number 1. And we got a little bit of Pappy 23 in here or what?
That would be amazing, right? See, the reality is if people are looking for allocated, we're gonna supply them with some allocated in the Bobby stash. So we're gonna have full bottles. Like I said, Midwinter Night's Dram. I got some Hakushu up there. So we're getting some allocated bottles that we're gonna give people access to that aren't necessarily in the lineup. But everything that you have in here, we're going for diversity in mash bill, makeup, style, location. We don't want a bunch of brown sugar, caramel, vanilla bourbons in a row.
Right.
Right.
Well,
And one of
sometimes
those is a weeded, if you're talking about Pappy, a weeded bourbon, right? One of those is a weeder that's in there.
I always talk about like when we do our reviews, there's some things like you mentioned is just like a bourbon fastball, right? It's the brown sugar, vanilla, caramel, and stuff like that. But there's only so much of that you can have until you start venturing out into something different and something more unique and stuff like that.
Totally. The bourbon chasers, the people that if somebody is like, so if you're doing an annual with shipping and everything, you're paying $60 a kit, right? Which is actually pretty stellar because you're getting 4 samples. Like if you go to a bar and you're pouring 4 doubles of really good stuff, you're going to be paying more than that at the bar, right? And this is shipping to your home. Obviously, we're giving you an experience. Like those kits, don't throw them away. What you guys should do, make your own blinds and share with a buddy and trade it off. Like that's why the kit is super high end, soft touch, go leak, magnet with the ribbon pull, right? We really wanted people to associate these small brands with top shelf. But if someone's only hunting for, the rarities of the world, they're hard to bring us into what we're doing. But the funny thing is when they do join us, they stay. We had a bottle. Have you ever seen the Doc Holliday bottles?
Yeah, of course.
So Doc Holliday, it's kind of gimmicky. There's some bullet casings in there, and there's like a horn thing on there.
Yeah, the bullets.
Yeah, and the World Whiskey Society, we love those guys, and they sent us, some of the Doc Holliday, and it was a 6-year, and it was MGP. So, if anyone's not listening doesn't know what MGP is, it's Midwest Grain Product. And Midwest Grain Product was a company that started out in Kansas that then bought the Seagram's building in the 90s that had all this whiskey in it when whiskey wasn't really doing that well in the 90s. And then they became the #1 commercial source for whiskey. When people want to start a distillery, whiskey needs what? Time in a barrel, right? And okay, you met that demand. Well, now the demand's even higher. And so they could never keep up with that demand. So Midwest Grain Product is a common commercial source. Middle West out of Columbus, Ohio is one. Southern Distilling out of Statesville, North Carolina. There's several that are out there that are doing that. Now, if you're just sourcing and putting it into a bottle and putting a label on, so that's called white labeling. We're not interested in that because there's no story there. You either have to make it, you have to blend it, right? So like we've got some Dark Arts, Macaulay blended. He's one of the top blenders in the game.
That guy's a magician, literally.
And he's on mushrooms all the time. He's literally tripping balls.
I was about to joke breaking news, but I think people probably knew that already.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you know what? Yeah, come on, let's take the taboo out of it. Just be on mushrooms all the time. I mean, Seth Rogen does it with weed. Want somebody, look, he's a master blender. He's crushing it. So someone's blending like that, we want them in the lineup. If you're finishing it, putting it in some other barrel, you're doing something to it. That works. So they sent us a bottle of this MGP 6-year. It was good. And I'm like, there's no story here. And they said, well, can we send you the 10-year? And I went, okay. And I poured it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was to this day, still probably the deepest, richest bourbon I've ever had. And I put in a blind for my guys, and I fuck with them sometime. You mentioned Wild Turkey. One of my guys loves Wild Turkey. I'll put the Master's Keep, like the rarest Wild Turkey, in a blind just to see if he shits on it, just to be like, oh, you didn't like your favorite thing? Oh, how does that feel? Oh, you sleep at night. You just told your wife she was ugly. And
big phony.
Exactly. And my guy was like, are you fucking with us? Did you put William LaRue Weller in a blind? Because it was so deep and rich and it was cast strength. No. And this was the only time we put a white labeled bottle in the lineup, because these guys found these barrels from this guy, Carlos Lavelle. And the Lavelle family in Georgia, they made whiskey illegally for like 5 generations, 140 years. And they'd bounce around to the Appalachians and they'd evade the feds. And this guy was making whiskey since he was 7. So when people start making whiskey, they're usually not good at it unless they apprentice or they come from a beer or a wine background. They understand the influence of wood and tannins and yeast and all that stuff. And you got to be kind of a scientist. And his daughter convinced him to go legit later on in his 70s. And he started Ivy Mountain Distillery in Georgia. And 3 years in, he died. And these barrels that, like, he was mainly making moonshine. His whiskey was so good that unaged it was phenomenal. And then he was aging it 6 months. Well, these barrels that were just going to sit there 6 months sat there for 4 or 5 years. And then the family offloaded them and they ended up in Texas. These guys found it, but it spent 4 years in Texas. And 4 years in Texas is like 7 years.
Yeah,
because of the heat. Maturation
rate.
Bold, right? Like, there's one in the lineup here there's 2 in the lineup here actually from Texas. And one of them is really bold. And you'll notice it because that maturation rate. And then they brought it back to Georgia. They aged it to the 10th year. And this was, if you see Doc Holliday 10-year in the wild, it's usually some really good Kentucky bourbon, the World Whiskey Society. They're always sourcing badass whiskey. But this was, I told the guys, I said, look, this is so good. I'm going to sell it out of existence. And we did. We sold all of the Ivy Mountain bottles out of existence, except for 2 barrels that I told them to age to 12-year. I was texting with the guy today. They just hit 12-year. So our members are going to get that.
That's unbelievable.
So the 10-year was going for $200 when we sold it for $125. I think we're going to be able to sell the 12-year for like $130.
That's a great deal.
That's it. Wow.
Yeah, and it's this guy's legacy's in the bottle. So I made sure that there was a neck tag that told a story, so we could kind of amplify that. And we're just going to put a cool sticker on there that's the Lost of the Last Barrels. Or the last of the lost barrels. And so that's the type of stuff that we're trying to do. So we're not going to do what some companies do, which is like, hey, we're going to sell you a bottle, but we're going to do a 15% markup of a bottle that you can go to your Total Wine and Bevmo and get, or your liquor barn or whatever the big.
Yeah, we got Binnies on our end, but
the Binnies, I love the Binnies.
The Total Wine, Binnies, like liquor barns, all of the big ones.
Exactly.
I do like that you mentioned about blinds. I always say that blinds are like the great equalizer, right? Like we try to do a couple. I do a bunch. My wife likes to pour me 4 samples of anything I have at the house every Friday night or every other Friday night. Now that
that's kids. A dope wife. Every Friday night she's pouring you 4 blinds.
She likes. Well, she also likes to try to trick me, and that's the whole point of like, she's sneaky about it.
She'll put like the Doritos bottle in there. Have you had the Doritos one?
We saw the Doritos one. That was not one we were going to review. But let's talk about pour number 1 here, because this is Jay. What did you think of bottle number 1 in the Prestige set?
I kind of really liked it. You know.
So we just had our promo for Whiskey at Comiskey, our tailgates that we do at Sox Park. It feels like a really good summer whiskey. It feels like something light, crisp, kind of like there's nothing real. Like we always say, especially when we're doing our reviews, right? Like, smooth is subjective. What's smooth to me is not smooth to someone else, or different things like that. But there's nothing really like harsh or offensive that even like someone that is like a novice coming out to a Whiskey at Comiskey, you know, like that might turn them off. So this is really good. I have a feeling Jay, do you want to try to take a guess of what I'm not? We're never going to guess. I don't think we could guess the brands because I really don't know.
No,
like,
yeah. I mean,
so how do we want to go about this? Just like the finish, the proof?
The age, the proof, and the type.
I'm gonna guess this is probably around a 10-year. And I'm gonna proof is nice. I'm gonna say it's probably around like 96 to 100.
So the proof is the proof is like less than 100, or at least like right under 100. I don't know if it's.
All right, you guys are crushing the proof. It's 96.
Like the immediate thought I like whenever I whenever something like there's something that really stands out for me, it was like Honey Nut Cheerios. So whenever that happens, Jay, we always talk about it's got to be like a weeded offering.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's 10-year. I feel like it's a lot lighter, so maybe it's like a little bit younger, but it's really
like
really
seven,
good.
Maybe more like a 7 or like a 7.
Yeah, and maybe even like I would say 6-year, 96 to 98, right?
Okay, yeah, you guys are pretty on it. You guys are.
I got a little bit left, so let me.
This is a weeded bourbon. It's 96 proof, and believe it or not, this is only 3 years old. Because this is out of Texas. This is out of San Antonio, Texas.
The heat, man. The heat gets you. It tricks you.
And Ranger Creek. So Ranger Creek was really they're brewers. And if you ever have any beer from Ranger Creek, I mean, all their beers are phenomenal. And the guys there want to make whiskey. The owner said no. One guy's a Swedish guy, so he goes no. And I know because I talked to him for a little bit. Very Swedish. And they went and made it anyways, and then they later on poured them, and the guy's like, "This is really good." And it's like, "Well, we've got a bunch of barrels we've been making for the last few years without telling you." And so, yeah, these guys, when you come from a brewing background, because essentially when you're making whiskey, you're making a bad beer, and then you're ultimately distilling that mash bill and what you're doing. But that Texas heat, once again, that 3-year makes a little bit more bold.
Yeah.
So when you have that heat level, the maturation rate goes up. And it changed a lot of things, but
I would have never thought this was a 3-year off tasting it. It definitely tasted a lot more mature. I could tell it was a little lighter in the proof, but like I would seriously thought that was, like I said, I originally thought like maybe 10-year, but then I'm like, okay, maybe 7, but never would have thought 3-year. A lot of wheat in there though. So definitely want to say the mash, but more of a high wheater.
Yeah, it's a 21%, 69 corn, 21 wheat, 10% malted barley. And yeah, I mean, this is just, when we went there, when we go on these trips, this is summer sipper for sure. And we were there, we do a whiskey trip every year. So 2 years ago, we were in Texas. We traveled all across Texas. And, what I love about the whiskey community in general is, when you're stopping at 15 different distilleries, they always say, "Hey, where have you been?" And you say, "Oh, we were over here." And they're like, "Oh, I love those guys." And they're competing with them, right? But they're rooting for Texas whiskey. And this industry is unlike any other industry where there's a lot of camaraderie. And in fact, they share, look at like Nancy Fraley, who influences Still Austin and really helps other brands that are starting up. There's plenty of guys that have really gone on and just helped spread their knowledge and their wealth of knowledge with the whiskey world. And this place, Ranger Creek, if you guys are in San Antonio, you got to visit them. And I think we were there. They
buddies in San Antonio.
Dude, they popped like 30 barrels, I think, maybe when we were there. That was the most samples we had on that trip at any distillery. And we were just like, and we had another one. We went to this other one that now doesn't, Devil's River, that they went bankrupt. Like Batista was a spokesperson or whatever. And the whiskey was okay. And we showed up and they had 12 samples out for us and they filled the glens like almost up to the top. Oh. And I just turned to my guy and I'm like, go get some pizza. We gotta, we've got to.
We gotta soak some of this up.
We gotta, It's 1 o'clock, guys. Come on. So it is cool where we get to visit these places and the owners. We hang out with the owners. We go in the back. If you haven't been, anyone that's watching, been a part of a distillery where they're popping barrels and getting to pull a bung out and getting a thief out of a barrel and just the cool experience of that. You can go to there's a place called Whiskey Thieves. If next time you guys are on the whiskey trail.
Yeah,
that's a place. People go to. They go visit Four Roses and you know what I mean, and Jim Beam and Willett. Yeah, go to Will and get the egg salad sandwich. Sometimes they're pouring purple tops for like $25 for 3 15-year pours. You go to some of those places, but there's a place called Whiskey Thieves. It used to be called Three Boys, and they don't distribute any of their product. You can only get it there by thieving your own barrel. And all their stuff is 7, 8, 9 years, and youngest distiller in Kentucky. But it's kind of cool because you're in this rick house with the the fermentation tanks that are like 5 inches off, and and the barn doors open, some hot girl in cowboy boots pouring you some stuff, and you get kind of romanticized by the environment. But just that idea of getting to thieve something out of the barrel and seeing some of that char and all that, it's just, there's nothing better.
That's awesome. We got a super chat from our guy Gordo Jason. He says, "Cheers, HBIC. Screw Bologna. Screw you, Gordo." But appreciate the super chat. So cheers, my man.
Gordo.
He paid extra to say screw you.
Cheers to
I
you,
like
Gordo.
that. You know what, Gordo? If you want to keep paying, you can say whatever you want to me.
Are you guys on sample B now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just started. I nosed it for a second, and then I just tried it. Immediately, I like, holy cow, this is there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on for sure.
So while we nose and kind of give it a sip, I did want to ask you, because like I listened to a good amount of like, whether it's the Whiskey Tube guys or even like, Bourbon Pursuit has the, the bigger podcast. And like now everyone's doing their own kind of thing. And you always see the speed bumps along the road of like starting something like what you did. Like, what's something that like you didn't expect to be a hiccup or a burden? Because I know a lot of times it's like, oh, the adhesive for like the labels, or like even like the screw tops, or there for a long time actually post COVID, like there was a shortage on glass, so people couldn't get glass. What's something that you didn't expect? Because there's always going to be hiccups starting a business. What is something that like came out of nowhere?
Yeah, people don't realize entrepreneurship sucks, and I mean, it could be something where you're building the website or code. And I'm dealing with these things all the time. I mean, the government shutdown was something that I didn't really see, because there's all this stuff that involves the Trade Tax Bureau, which includes COLA, certificate of label acceptance. We have to go through that every quarter, and transferring bonds where the whiskey gets transferred. There's all this stuff that has to get cleared to do all the stuff that we're doing legally. And the government shutdown. So this March, we have the Fred Minnick lineup. So we're one of the few brands that he's ever partnered with. So we did a partnership with them a couple years ago. It was a different lineup, and I said, hey, can we just sync up on a lineup so that our members get the Fred Minnick, top 100 picks, and it's all bangers. And that was supposed to be December, but none of the we couldn't do anything, and that kept me up for about 3 weeks. And then I realized, these TIBs, these transfer bonds, are good for 5 years. So what if we go to brands when we only had like 200-300 members that were killer, but we didn't have a lot of people, and we put them back in the lineup, but we get something even more special from them, like a store pick, something that you can only get at the distillery, or a special unique one LTO. And so that became the best of the best lineup in December. So that was a pivot. But kind of aligned with your question right off the bat, we created, so I've never created custom packaging. That was really interesting and unique. Just deciding, do we want it to spend all this money on the packaging, and finding ways to make that actually be affordable, so that we're not crashing out on like our budget on the whole thing. And we figured out a way to do that. But that's custom glass. I mean, you feel the heft of those bottles. I mean, you think those are 100 milliliters, right? Look how thick those are, right? And it's thick 50,
boys. Yeah,
it's 50 mLs, and you don't want to throw those away. You can reuse those. But when we made the glass, and it took 9 molds to make that glass. Every mold cost money, and the machine just kept cracking. And so getting the actual right elements that made the glass strong, but also not crack from the pressure when they were making it, that was hard to figure out. And then the enclosures. So everyone talks in this industry about enclosures, and some have synthetic corks, some use real corks, some screw top, some just put like a band over it, some do the Grolsch type of thing, right? And we originally were going to send glass to distilleries and have them fill, and that became a whole other nightmare that we couldn't do. So because we didn't want to have a machine capper, like when you see normal 50 mLs, it's that cheap aluminum cap, right? And we didn't want to send a capper,
kind of like it just
exactly. So we made it fit with, so that's an 18 millimeter Kerr finish, and it's tamper evident, right? So you can when you open it up, the seal breaks and that whole thing. Well, my buddy has a brand called Coffee Love, and he's like, dude, everything about this is awesome, the glass and the packaging, but your caps look stupid, and because we had these plastic caps on there, and I'm like, yeah, but I think it's fun. He's like, it's like you're in a tuxedo wearing flip flops, and I'm like, it's kind of cool. Look, I could do that. And what happened is the plastic. So he said, I got a guy that'll put a metal finish on it. That's the metal finish that you see on there, right? That black finish on there. That's a cap that gets put on over that. And, it cost us I was like 14 cents a cap. And it was just like, do we want to spend the money on that? And he caught me on a day, and I got that. And now we switched to the gold band. We kind of did a combination now where we have the gold band with the black finish. And that actually saved our ass, because when we got our packaging ready and the bottles, so some of the bottles, when they were sitting there and they're flat and they're open, right, what would happen is the tension, not on a lot of bottles, but let's just say 5%, less than 5%, maybe like 3%, over time, over like 3 weeks, the tension would loosen a little bit. Okay. And the whiskey wouldn't pour out, but on maybe one out of every 50, a little would leak out.
Leakage, yeah.
And yeah, we could have done it upright. We could have done some other things to solve it, or if people. And I was tripping. And our insert, we didn't have like a custom letter like we have on everything. We weren't naming the kits in the first time. And the first thing it said is, "You smell that? That's the smell of American craft whiskey. We sprinkle a little on the box for you," because we didn't really know how to solve that. And so plastic is valuable and glass isn't, right? So over time, that tension creates that issue. Well, the metal finish keeps the plastic from shifting, so we don't have leakages. I'd say
I know about leakages. I'm 40.
Yeah, at our age, leakage is prevalent.
A little leakage, yeah. Or you leave that bottle hot in the car. So yeah, during the summer, I'd say 1 in 2,000 kits will have something leaks, and the carrier leaves it somewhere where it's 110 degrees, and there's nothing we can do about that. I mean, that would happen with any bottle of whiskey that's over 100 proof.
All right, Jay. Let's get to this pour number 2. What are we thinking?
Very earthy for me. I want to say this is a rye. I'm gonna guess 115 and about 4 or 5 years.
So when I first had it, I'm like, there's a lot going on. There's something going on. I don't know if it's like wine or sherry or something different. It's not like we talked about. It's not the bourbon fastball. There's definitely not like just the vanilla caramel, brown sugar thing going on. Like there's like, I don't want to say fake fruit, but like something else. So I'm gonna guess like a wine finish. I can't. Once
there's a finish going on here.
Once you finish thing, my age, you lose me because like I feel like the oak is where I could really like gauge like how old something is, or at least like kind of give it an idea. And once it's finished, this could be 6, this could be 12. I have no idea, but I do think it's a little less. I think it's a little less, Jay. I would say somewhere between 110 and 100. Where our wheelhouse is. We always talk about like our 105 wheelhouse. It's in that. I don't think it's super hot, but it's super sweet. It's like there's like I could even feel it right now of like that little bit of like fruit behind here.
I love craft. What they've done is they've pushed a lot of brands to do lower barrel entry. So where you can come out and you can say it's cask strength, but it doesn't have to be like 128 proof.
Yeah.
So you're seeing,
Michter's was prevalent with that, the lower barrel entry.
Yeah. And then, you can get a cask strength that's, in that 103 to 108 range. And I think that's great because you get to say it's cask strength and appease all of the, people that are out there hunting bourbon, but then the people that are newbies, you're not blowing the doors
blowing their
off,
palates. So are we drinking a cask strength product right now? Because I would have never guessed that.
This is not. I know I lose all that.
I was like, holy cow, you're blowing my mind right now.
It's not, but it is 103 proof, so it's not proof down by much. And this is Hugh Hamer. They're out of West Fork, Kentucky. West Fork, Indiana. And this is bourbon whiskey finished in rum barrels. And
rum. I'm not a rum guy. I'm always
rum was throwing me off.
Yeah.
So, but when I have a rum finish, like there's a rye 3 barrel over here, bottle behind me. Their rum finish is very rummy. Most time when I have rum, I think Seagrass for barrel, I thought they did a really good job, like that rye finish in rum.
The seagrasses.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect amount. And this was the first time somebody sent us a rum finish that I thought was really well balanced. And I had a guy here. He works a couple buildings down here, and he pops in and we always test things out on him. And he was trying all these things. And man, this guy wanted to just take this bottle out and go pound it somewhere because he was just couldn't stop drinking this one thing. And
yeah, that was fantastic. I always talk about, and I joke because it was like when Barrel Seagrass first came out, and it kind of took a little bit for it to like really garner the hype. And then I think it might be Fred Minnick or somebody talked about it and gave it a really high review. I would imagine it was Fred Minnick back in the day. And I was
I don't remember who pumped it, but
somebody pumped it and it went crazy. And I remember having it like right before that. And I had a moment with it because I really don't I don't dabble with rum all that much, but like that Barrel Seagrass just gave me like those peach rings, the candies, it was like I was like drinking candy basically. And I'm like, this is going to be dangerous for your boy Bologna here.
Oh man, I love it. And we actually are doing a rum box. It's not going to be part of our membership. We're doing a one-off. We're just going to make like 1,100 kits. And have you ever heard of Broken Barrel?
Yeah.
So, he breaks the barrels up to save. It's a form of natural rapid maturation. So Seth Banheim, who's a close friend, and we've worked with him a couple of times, he's sourced rum. It's called mainland rum, and he's sourcing rum from mainland states. And there's some banger rums that are, there's one from California, Louisiana, and Florida, and Georgia, and these are killers. And I didn't realize how nuanced rum could be. But man, the one from California, it's like a dusty, it's got like this dusty bookshelf thing going on. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to order like 4 cases of this just myself, because the California one just knocked my socks off. But we're trying to, it's hard to import. We're going to do a tequila lineup at some point, but it's importing and tariffs and all of that. The tariffs jacked us up last year. Still kind of jacking us up a little bit.
Yeah, we don't have to talk tariffs on the show, but we all.
Oh no, and the thing is, like when I talk about tariffs, I'm like, I'm talking as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah,
I'm not political. Everyone thinks like, California, you're a goddamn liberal. I'm like, we're a very diverse state. I actually get along with everybody because I hate everybody. So that's
the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Get through life. I'm like, don't tell me who you like, just tell me who you hate. Let me align with the hatred. But yeah, trying to figure out that when like, oh, my shipment's coming in, and I'd make glass here if we had people that make glass here. But we really don't anymore. We traded that to Mexico a long time ago, and then now we traded it to China. And so, the ship is coming in, and it's like, okay, am I going to get 55% or is it going to be 150%? I don't know, because it could change any day. And I'm just sitting there going like, it's literally when it arrives, like that you're stuck with whatever that is.
The date. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And there's people that I have figured out ways around some of it. I'm not as savvy with it. And those are some of those business things that, you got to get an ISF agent. There's all this stuff. And there's always somebody that, it's funny, the people that work here that deliver it from the port, wherever the company, like they don't really speak English. And they'll just call and answer the phone. I'm like, hello? And they just go, deliver it. And I went, okay. And then I'm like, deliver? And then they'll just keep saying deliver. And I'm like, okay,
I'm on my way.
What does that mean? Like, I don't even know what, I know there's a delivery. I don't know what it is. I don't know that they're dropping off like a shipping container at the back of my, office. I have no idea what's happening. And then they just show up. And so sometimes you're just dealing with okay, I'm just trying to follow the rules. I got to pay this fee over to here and pay that fee. And so you kind of get through it. You guys are on sample 3 right now, right?
We are on sample 3.
Sample 3 is confusing the hell out of me right now.
Good.
It's hot. This is for sure hotter than the last 2. That's the first thing I noticed. While we sample pour number 3, can we talk a little bit more about the tequila? Because I got my guy Joey P. He was in the comments earlier. We also do tequila reviews. I'm from Jalisco, or at least my parents are from Jalisco, and my guy my guy Joey P. is well versed on all things tequila. So he was very excited because I talked to you before the show started, that I listened to a couple of other podcasts that you were on, and you dropped a hint about the possibility of doing tequila stuff. And I text my guy Joey P, and he's all about it. So we might have to have you back on during the tequila drop, because we'll be members for that for sure. My guy don't miss a tequila drop.
I like that Chicago accent. All of a sudden you go, hey, let's go. And then you, like, right when you mentioned there was an incident today in Nicaragua.
So that's the one thing. And it's funny doing the Chicago Sports Bums podcast. And we always get it a lot, Jay, where it's like you guys have like the super fans accent of Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, and like we got both our other partners, Dougie and Joey and Johnny. There's always like a debate outside of us, like who has the thickest Chicago accent. But yeah, every so often I have to church up my Mexican side too, and I can say tequila and Guadalajara and stuff like that.
I mean, that place is wild. Like now, Jalisco is under siege right now, so we're trying to figure out what's going to happen with that, with the cartel, and what they basically took over Puerto Vallarta, which is right there in that region. So to be tequila, it has to be from the blue agave. It has to be from the Jalisco region. Just like to be bourbon, it's got to be 51% corn aged in new white oak charred barrels, but it's got to be American, right? You can't have a bourbon that's made, even though it can be made every other way, the same way that you drink your bourbon. If it's not made in America, it doesn't count there. And with tequila, it's weird. There is loopholes of what you can do to bottle it here. I don't want to bottle it. What accent? I don't want to bottle it over there because I don't think we can create consistencies with the fill. So we want to control that over here. So there's also some really dope American agave, and there's also, obviously, we want to get into mezcals. We want to get into other desert plants like sotol. So there's some dope things. I mean, I don't know if you've had some mezcals. Not all mezcals are smoky. Some of them are fruity and wild.
That's the ones I like. So
Me too.
I typically I got into whiskey drinking scotch in all places in Vallarta, Jason. We went on a trip to Puerto Vallarta in our 20s, and it was like
a lot of Johnny Walker Black.
It was all inclusive, and we didn't know what we were doing, but like we're like, let's just drink some Johnny Walker Black all week, and that slowly got me into my whiskey journey. So where I got back here, I started drinking scotch, and then I realized right away, the peat is not for me. Every once in a while, I do like a peated scotch if it's we're a couple buddies are in the campfire and stuff like that. But for the most part, I won't mess with scotch. But that got me into whiskey, and so the scotch got me into American bourbon and American whiskey. And I'm like, oh, this is a completely different animal, because I do like the caramels, vanilla, and everything else. And
now we have American single malt, new category, right? So
the single malts, I feel like, has like within the last like 2 years, 3 years, maybe, it's almost like a snowball, like an avalanche of like, it just like took off like gangbusters. It's
awesome because we've featured a single malt that from New Mexico that was made with mesquite smoke. We did one with Corsair that was triple smoke. We called that like banana scotch. It was like really unique, wild. People love that, especially affordable bottle, $50 bottle. In our most recent December lineup, so Southern Star, I was mentioning Southern Distilling. Like if you haven't had the Paragon weeded bourbon, like I've got a bunch of barrel picks over here. Like if you remember, like a barrel pick of Southern Star weeded bourbon cast strength, if you're at the distillery, is like $80. What do you got? What's on the picture over there? Is that Statesville?
So our boy Mailman Jack saying my walls are giving him anxiety. It's a Salvador Dali artwork on the wall.
Not original though. Not original.
I got a wall of whiskey. He's got his little Star Wars
culture. Don't you learn about it?
Bears, bobbleheads.
I got a dinosaur back here. I got a diploma behind me. I got the calendar. Like I got stuff on the walls. It just the camera angle. You can't see everything.
Mailman Jack. All right. I'm sorry. We're sorry to interrupt, but we should get to number 3, Jay. You said it was kind of throwing you for a loop. The more I have it, the spicier it gets, and it's. So I always tell people I work outside. I'm a landscaper by trade. I own a landscaping company. It reminds me of landscaping, and immediately when that happens, it's like, oh, it's a rye. At least in my like this has to be a rye. Really good rye though. Like there's something like I don't want to say it's finished because it's not. It's not like, like Barrel Seagrass finished rye or whatever. It's just a really solid, spicy rye. I can't tell you the proof besides like hotter than what we've had.
Yeah. So
Jay, you got anything?
I'm kind of like all over on this one. Like if you told me it was like around like 115-ish, I'd believe it. I'd also, if you also told me it was, cast strength 107, 106, I'd believe that too. And if you also told me it was like a cab finish or something, I'd probably believe that. I'm just
you are all over the place.
I'm all over. I'm all over.
If I told you it was really a rum, no.
Nah.
Put a little. Would you believe it? Put a little water with what you have left. Put just a touch of water in it. I do think that, especially the higher proofers, but this one and definitely sample D.
I got a little water.
Not a ton of water, but just like a drop in there. I think, man, the nose on this is just phenomenal. And you guys are once again on the money. This is a rye. This is cast strength. This is 117 proof. This is 9 years. And this is.
That's what. So 9-year rye. So typically, you don't see many. I feel like rye, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like rye definitely doesn't age like you never see like the ultra age ryes, right? Like at most, like a 12-year or something like that. Like, but like even a 9-year typically is rare. I feel like ryes are right in the 4 to 6 or then 6 to 8, and then that's about it. So
this was aged in Texas too. So this spent about 5 years in Texas. So it really does taste more like a 12-year. Much more wood influence when you have that heat level. So people are listening. Every season it gets hot, the barrels expand, it contracts, it gets colder. The barrels are breathing the whiskey in and out. Now when it gets really hot, the maturation rate goes up because the angel share, which is the evaporation that happens.
Yeah,
you lose more water. So you'll have a barrel like we did a 2-barrel blend with Still Austin about a year ago. That was just off the charts, unreal. We picked these two that just so complemented and synergized, and it was just unbelievable. But after only 5 years, there's only like 35 gallons in that 55-gallon barrel. They lost 20 gallons in like 5 years. It's crazy. That's what you might see in like 14 years at another distillery.
Yeah, that's that Texas heat. And you mentioned it, and when we got into whiskey, or maybe it was my own like stigmas or like predeterminations on things. I had a couple bad bottles, and I'll preface this by saying like there's really good whiskey and really bad whiskey at almost every distillery, right? But yep. I feel like I had a couple bad bottles of like the Balcones, which is also I believe in Texas.
It's in Waco. Yeah.
And that turned me off of Texas whiskey for a little while now, until Still Austin came along and completely changed the game. I feel like Still Austin within the last like 4 years or so really like changing what people think about Texas whiskey.
Have you had the Tanager?
I was able to try the Tanager.
The release this year was like so far off the charts, amazing, like mind blowing. Like it's hard to touch. And I mean, we went out, so they have a rack house, and I think that's because the barrels are upright and sit on their side, and it's in Lockhart, which is like the barbecue capital of Texas. So it's like 45 miles outside Austin, and we're just popping barrels, and they had sherry and all this stuff. And then we went through about 20 barrels. We picked 5 outliers, and then we picked 2 from them that really blended the best together. So one had a front end that was just bonkers, and the other one's back end was just but what you can do, you can take a world-class athlete and a Rhodes Scholar, and you can put them together, and you can end up with a really dumb non-athlete. You know what I mean? I have a couple friends who have kids like that, right? And they're like,
Jay Cutler, no.
Yeah, Jay Cutler. Oh God, that was a deep cut. But no, this one was a world-class Rhodes Scholar athlete. Like this was the best of all the worlds, and the only problem was we only had like 100 bottles of it, and we limited it to 1 per person, and those things were just gone after like a week. So, some people found ways around it to get more than 1, but it's funny, Windy City Smokeout. Yeah. But yeah, that Balcones I'm not a big fan of Balcones. I mean,
No.
they're baby blue.
I
Kind of put Texas
bought
on the
one
map.
bottle and I'll never buy one again.
Yeah, they put Texas whiskey on the map. They really did, and now you got Garrison Brothers that's really kind of leading it, and either you like it or you don't. And I'd say some Texas whiskeys are polarizing. Like you'll get people that love it, and you get something really, really deep and rich, and some people are like, I don't like it. It's too bold.
Yeah, Still Austin. Even like the regular Still Austin cast strength, I think is fantastic. We brought it.
Awesome.
We brought it to a couple tailgates back when we were just sharing our own bottles and stuff like that.
And they've had the guidance of Nancy Fraley, who is kind of like
she's legend,
the godmother of the modern whiskey era.
Now I do want to while we finish off, number 4 is throwing me for a loop, Jay, because like I smelt it and immediately I was like, oh, this smells like kind of like pancakes, and like it was like I was like interested that way. And then I tasted it, and it's got like, there's a lot going on. It's hot, but I want to say it. I think this is a finished one too. It's got all of like the classic, like, baking spice kind of like, or like, spice cabinet if you open it up, but also like maybe a little bit of like I don't want to say it's a cigar blend. No. But there's like leather and there's like tobacco and different like things.
I'm
like
looking
that.
at the tasting notes while you're hitting on that.
It's giving me the chew for sure.
Yeah. So and Jason, do the whenever it gives you something like that, it's like, ooh, there's something.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess this is like 120.
Yeah, I would agree. It's right up there. Like I keep. Whenever we do our whiskey reviews, I say I'm a Stag slut. That's like one of the first bottle. The Stag Junior back in the day. Is they got
rid of the Junior, which is so stupid.
Bring back the Junior. Can we agree? Bring back the Junior.
Yeah, I was at a speakeasy in New York, and you literally had to like call into this number and say ass down, face up, or no, face down, ass up, and then you go to this opening, and you end up in a porn shop, and it's not like. I mean, there's giant rubber fists with handles on the end of it. It's not like, and all of a sudden the porno wall like opens up, and we go into the bar, and they had all your regular well pours back there, like your Jack Daniels, your Bullet, your Templeton, and then they had a bottle of Stag Junior, and I was like, but I'm in New York, so I'm like, they're gonna try to be $70 for that. And I was like, how much for, I don't know, what is that? I always act like, and I'm like, what about that one? How much is that? And the girl was new. She's like, it's not in our system. That's a fucking hint that you probably, and she was like, $8. And I'm like, and so I just ordered doubles for everybody until the bottle was gone. And then we were leaving, the manager, I saw him pick up, he's like, yeah, that just cost her cost the bar like $700 or something. Because, what they would have sold all that juice for, But yeah, I love a Stag Junior. So what do you think the proof is, Bologna?
I think it's right around there, like 125, 126, 24. Like
it's 130.2.
Damn, so we're at 130 proof.
I said 120. I was way off.
It was 130, and this is a bold one. So what do you guys think? Is this a bourbon, rye, wheat, single malt? What do you think the dominant?
I think it's there is something sweet about it, but I still think I don't know if it's it's definitely not like a rye, or I don't even think it's finished, but it did give me, like Jason, like we mentioned, like a cigar blend type of thing, which would mean it was finished, but it's not. I don't know. I'm gonna say bourbon, but like
I'm getting corn. I'm getting corn on here too.
Well, yeah, that's the sweetness. That's where the sweetness is coming from.
Yeah. So the weird part is, so it's the 80% corn. It's a bourbon. Now the 20% is actually malted wheat, and it's five different ancient varietals of wheat that they've restored and like brought back, and this is from Iron Root. They're out of Denton. Is it Denton or Denison? I think it's Denton. It's the home of Sully Sullenberger.
The pilot.
Yeah. All I know is that like it's from the same town.
Shout out Tom Hanks.
And shout out Tom Hanks and Sully for saving the miracle on whatever the name of that river was. So and this is this was a barrels pick. So we blended 3 different casks together in order to make this kind of unique one offering. But no, this is if you get a cask strength barrel pick from this place, it's $100. Our members get it for 80. So I think we got like a half a dozen of these left, but it's not something that will be like anything else on your shelf.
I mean, this is the one that completely threw me for a loop.
I got it. Like I said, you said it was 80% corn.
Yeah.
On the mash bill. Yeah. I was like, it's hot. I thought it was like low 120s, but I wasn't expecting to be 130. But I got a lot of corn, and I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was like finished.
That's what I thought would like because of the spice aspect to it.
I was getting a lot of on it too. So,
but you guys did great though, man. You guys are all over the proof. You're all over the mash bill. You know, the age. I think the age on this is only 4 years actually. But once again, that Texas.
I would have never another Texas. Yeah, I would have never guessed 4 years.
See, I don't think Peter, me, and either of us, we have done a lot of Texas bourbons besides like still Austin. Like we don't really get.
It's a blind spot for sure.
Yeah, so that's probably it's definitely like not something that we're like versed like used to, like when you say like, oh man, like this is only a 3 or 4 year, but it tastes double that. So that definitely threw us for a loop there. So.
Yeah, whenever we're on a trip, like we always get influenced, and I mean the worst is when you meet amazing people, but the whiskey's not that great, and that's always tough because you fall in love with the people, but the whiskey and some people never figure it out, and at the end of the day, like we're not snobs and say you got to like what we like and you got to drink it the way that we drink it. We're very open-minded. I do have one rule. I don't like when people put it on like crushed ice, like whiskey and crushed ice. You want to put several cubes in there, great, but I got a brother-in-law that he comes from my house and he always puts and like crushed ice to the top, and I'm like, okay, like
making a slushy.
We can make an ice luge over here, you know what I mean? If you want it like really cold or whatever you're trying to do. And I remember I took a shower and I came out and he got there early and he had it full up ice and full up whiskey. And I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, what did he pour? She's like, I don't know. And he didn't just pour anything. He poured 15-year Widow Jane and he fucking opened it. Like it was an unopened bottle out of hundreds of bottles. Like you're going to open up the 15-year Widow Jane that I've never even had.
Widow Jane's fantastic.
Fucking adulterate it with like crushed ice, because by the time and look, ice is great because especially when you eat cask strength, you get something strong, water opens it up, right? I'm not against ice. I always say try to drink it pure, like try to drink it neat, and then put a cube in it, especially a circular cube, let it open it up. But you want to take some whiskey and mix it with like everyone was saying that that blackberry Jack Daniels with tab was supposed to be dope.
So we had a Bears watch party. We had multiple of them, but like one of our sponsors for those was Brown Foreman, and we had a girl, a lady pouring Jack Daniel's blackberry, and she poured it like a variety of different ways. And like I mentioned, I'm not big on finished stuff, but she made it into a mixed drink a couple of different times. They were so fantastic. I was like, this is like the perfect summer drink. And this was in the fall during football season. But I was like, the Jack Daniel's blackberry kind of like turned my thinking on like, all right, maybe this isn't too bad. But yeah,
so we've had one flavored whiskey in our lineup, and we debated whether we would do it. And September of 2024, Vermont Distilling out of Quechee, Vermont, same home as Whistle Pig, and they are finishing their whiskey. Well, not finishing their. It's a fusion. So when people do maple infusion, it's like usually 20%. It's over saccharin. It's really sweet. They did a 5% maple infusion, so it's very subtle. You'd never know that it was a flavored whiskey technically, but in a blind, that shit crushes. I mean, we still sell that Vermont number 14 like crazy, and it's really good. And there's a lot of people that come and just buy it on our site because they can't get it. And even for people that aren't members, it's pretty reasonably priced. But you put a little sugar in anything, it kills in a blind.
Yeah, especially in a blind because you don't know what's happening, and it's like the sugar and the sweetness kind of like stand out. We had somebody at a tailgate one time, Jason, that brought like a Whiskey Acres maple finish thing, and that
Ooh.
kind of like
Oh,
I was
really?
like,
They have a maple finish?
I'm looking at my whiskey wall back there. They're like little like 375s. They're not like full bottles.
Have you had their blue popcorn?
Yes, blue popcorn's their best. At least I
They're
think
Bloody
it's
Butcher's, man.
I like blue popcorn so much.
Their Bloody Butcher in a cocktail is just so good. But yeah, if you guys go up to the Cobb, go visit them. Tell them Blind Barrel sent you. They'll probably run the red carpet for you. We have a lot of members that show up to distilleries and to take them in the bath, the pop barrels. They'll do all sorts of cool stuff. But that's that's one of the few people that are they're seed engineers. They're growing their own grain.
That's awesome.
So Frey Ranch does that. There's not a lot of distilleries that grow their own grain. They source locally and they keep that within the story, but very few whiskey farmers out there.
All right. We said we were going to do an hour. We're at an hour 6. I do this with every one of our guests on the Bologna Show. It's going to be a little bit of a speed round, if you're okay with that, before we let you go.
Do it.
And this will be something like, just rattle off first thing you think of. But like, okay. I mean, obviously you're well versed in whiskey, so let's start here. Best whiskey you've ever had?
The Doc Holliday 10-year and soon to be the 12-year. That Doc Holliday. And I'm telling you, it's that distillery, that Ivy Mountain distillery. This guy just knew what he was doing, and I still think I still have a couple bottles, and people overall pour them. And now that we're gonna have the 12-year of the same distillate, I'm gonna covet that, and I want to drink that with my grandkids one day.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what's something that's always on your bar cart?
Southern Star. So the Paragon weeded bourbon, that cask strength weeded bourbon is a banger. It just crushes. I don't care. Like anybody, especially like we have all barrel picks. So like we're really good friends with Pete. So anytime he has something really special, we buy cases of it. So like on our site right now, we sell 50, but our members get cask strength barrel pick Paragon weeded bourbon for $50. I mean, come on.
That's awesome.
That's it, and I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. That and Middle West, anything Middle West makes, their pumpernickel rye, their weeded cask strength, all of it. Correct.
Our guy, so we have a offshoot, a Cubs podcast, Bums in the Bleachers, and it's our guy, the Dram Daddy. He's a whiskey guy on like big on Instagram, but like he's a big Cubs fan, but he swears by Middle West. So I haven't had much Middle West, but I did have the pumpernickel rye, and that's really good.
They're phenomenal. And I love when people come over and they're like, do you have a bourbon? And I always pour them the Middle West pumpernickel rye. And they go, this is an amazing bourbon. I'm like, it's a rye. Stop saying that you only drink bourbon. Start to open up whatever you think. Everyone thinks ryes are always spicier. They're always what they are. Have you guys visited Koval? You guys tight with them? They're out in Chicago.
No, I gotta be honest. I'm not a big Koval guy.
So we had in their lineup, and I said, look, you guys are really well distributed. And I do think a lot of their stuff tastes very grain forward. So, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if it's really good grain.
Right.
So they have a special allocated series called Thresh and Winnow. And it's the coolest bottle that you'll ever see. In fact, I mean, they won bottle design of the year or something. And it is a 100% millet grain. And
I don't even know what that means.
Crushed in a blind. It's a millet. It's a certain type. I think it's a type of grain that you like feed cattle, and I don't know a lot about it either. And I had never even heard of millet being made into a whiskey. Just I had never heard of 100% Louisiana rice being turned into a whiskey either. But it crushes, and I don't know if people bought it because they loved it or if it was just the coolest looking bottle ever that you eventually drink and you put olive oil in it. I don't know.
All right, I got 3 left. Overrated bottle of whiskey.
Wow. Man, I don't want to shit on any brands.
It's tough. Yeah.
But I'll say, Weller Green Label, if you're getting that for $30, great. If you're paying $80 for the Weller, SP.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything special about it. It's fine. It's not bad. It's just people overpay for some of those Weller bottles.
Can we not?
I did originally in my beginning of my bourbon journey. I paid $100 for a green label from a local, and
Yeah.
I was like,
People pay
after I found out what
$700.
actual MSRP was, I wanted to go back there and punch the guy in the face.
Yeah. People pay for the 100, like for the white label, like they're paying $600 for that. I'm like, don't go get 12 bottles of Southern Star Paragon.
All right, Mount Rushmore of distilleries.
Okay, I mean, obviously you have your. I mean, it depends on how far, if you're going like the Stitz or Willet. So I'm gonna put Willet on there, just because I Willet's just got so many bangers on there. So you have to put it on there. I think Four Roses, did something really unique where they're talking about the yeast strain. I think Wild Turkey's got to go on there too.
Big turkey guys.
I mean, if you're gonna go like, you could just say Stitzel-Weller, and then that way that covers Pappy, that covers Buffalo. You know what I mean? That's that way. It's like if someone's like Thomas Handy, Weller, Foolproof, whatever. It's like, okay, technically it's all the same family, right? So that has to be on there. That's probably the George Washington of it, right?
Yeah, and I saved my. I don't want to say favorite question for last, but the one I'm most excited about, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but you started off the show talking about you went to USC on a football scholarship. We're big Chicago sports bums guys. We say talk sports, drink whiskey. Thoughts on Caleb Williams?
He's the real deal. You guys got. Yes! I'll tell you. He always was, and he always has been. And I've never met him, but I know people in the circles, and you hear whether somebody's a class act or not. And he's a man amongst boys. He's a true leader. You guys are going to be in a Super Bowl with him at some point. And I'll just say, come on, play of the year. I mean, he's got to get the SP play of the year for that
crazy, right?
Throw. I mean, he had two of them. He had two in back-to-back games against Green Bay and I think Buffalo, right? Maybe two of the wildest highlight plays of anyone's career, and he did them in back-to-back weeks. I mean, this guy is superhuman, and if he stays healthy, and I don't think there's any reason why he wouldn't, man. And you look, you see him talk in the locker room like he's, he took on that role really quickly. Some guys have to ease into that,
right?
And you got veterans that look up to him on the team because he's a man in there. So I'm super stoked, and dude, I've been a Chicago. Look, I've got the only jersey that I have that's signed in my home office is Dick Butkus, man, because that was my style. I was a linebacker.
Back here.
I was a run stuffer. I had a junior year, I had 150 something tackles, and Dick Butkus, he actually lived locally. My mom invited him to my high school graduation party, and he actually wrote back that he wrote a handwritten note that he couldn't attend. And what I loved about Butkus is he was just one of these dudes. He wouldn't just show, but he would walk back to the huddle. And he wouldn't just run into a guy. He did the dump. That's kind of what I would tackle. I would spin around and I would just dump guys on the ground. And so that was my style of play. And I was always a massive Dick Butkus fan.
Love it.
Bobby, thank you so much. Let everyone in the comments, and I'll be posting this for the podcast feed tomorrow morning. Let everyone know where we can find Blind Barrels, how we can subscribe, what does it all entail. But I'll be singing to your guys' praises for a while.
Oh, I thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love your guys' show, and look, you guys can follow us on Instagram at Blind Barrels, and look at one of the top videos on there. You'll see my dad. He opened up a bottle of Old Overholt from 1915. And my dad's a character in of itself. He got 1 million views in the first week when we released that video. He thinks it's just easy. He can just release a video all the time. I'm like, fuck.
Nothing to it.
It's not that easy. And you go to blindbarrels.com. Look, you can get a one-off kit. Like you guys did a kit from last June. We don't have any of those more. So that's why, obviously the reveal here. But every lineup is unique. Every lineup is a drop. Like right now, the Fred Minnick lineup is going to go on sale tomorrow. It's going to be $100. Members are going to get that as their March kit. So if you do the annual, which is $300, that includes shipping, you get a 5th bonus kit. So it's $60 a kit. That includes shipping, and you get 4 custom tasting glasses. And you see our tasting glass right here. See how thick that is? I wanted to make sure that these were really thick because you break these things all the time, and these are nearly unbreakable. If you do it quarterly, you'll get a free tasting glass, and if you want to just test it out and get it's a backdoor way to get the Fred Minnick lineup without committing anything. And yes, you can go get a one-off kit, not commit to anything. And yes, down the road we will have tequila. We have a restaurant model that we're going to be rolling out later this year, so we have all sorts of fun stuff on the horizon.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about everything you guys are doing. Thank you for coming on the Bologna Show and the Bourbon Bums.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bobby.
All right, Jay. Before we wrap up, we should talk a little bit more about Whiskey at Comiskey because I wanted to tease it. We're all excited about it. Jason, you do have actually, you know what? I'm glad you wore that shirt. We talk about we've been doing this long enough to where we got the same, I don't want to say hive mind, but we're right there with each other. I actually made a new ad for our shirts. Woo! ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com is the home for all Chicago Sports Bums merch. We have Bears, Hawks, Sox, and Bums merch available. Anything you need to get ready for a big game or a Chicago Sports Bums event. Remember, all profits go directly back into our Whiskey at Comiskey tailgates to keep the beer and food free for everyone. So head over to ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com and pick up a couple Two Tree shirts today.
And this one just dropped today, about 90 minutes ago, before we went on the air. We have our new Mooney shirt, our Murakami shirt is now available in gray and in black. And then we have you saw in the ad, the new retro White Sox logo in Japanese.
Hell yeah.
And we're hoping to expand to the Japanese market. So we did open up shipping to Japan and South Korea as well.
What a businessman.
I know. But if you want to support some Mooney shots, head over to ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com/White Sox or look at our tweets right now and buy this shirt. Buy it now. Buy it before Buy
it before he hits a couple 2-3 moonshots in the WBC, and it's going to be a hot commodity. So get that before it's too late. And also, we talked about the RSVPs being pinned in the description. It's on all of our socials. Whiskey at Comiskey, less than a month away. Maker's Mark, Off Hours Brewing, Manuscrito Tequila, and Jepson Malort, plus the food sponsor that we're teasing for Monday night on the Bumcast. I'm so gassed up about this, Jay. So that's a little tease for Monday night.
Yep, excited. But yeah, I'm glad we got to finally do a Bourbon Bums episode on the Bologna Show. We just dropped our this morning. We dropped our Stag 25 battle. So if you're a fan of Buffalo Trace and Stag Junior products, you can go find out which one me and Bologna which we picked for our favorite of the 4 releases for 2025. So go check that out on our YouTube page as well right now.
All right, Jay. I'll talk to you. I'm going to talk to you after the show. I'll probably talk to you tomorrow. I'll talk to you on Monday. But thank you for coming on. Thank you once again to Bobby Demars and the Blind Barrel. I'm going to tease next week's episode because I'm excited about that. I've been excited about that for a couple of months now. So, Jay, I'll talk to you later. All right, next week on the Bologna Show is something we've been teasing for a little while now. I've been on Letterboxd. I've been doing my homework. I've been watching all of the 2025 movies, and the Oscars are a week from Sunday away. I'm going to have Bob Pantalone, our guy, Bobby Pants from the Analysis Podcast, a movie podcast. He's going to be on the Bologna Show. We're going to preview the Oscars and give our predictions for all of the major categories. His podcast, the Analysis Podcast, is something I listen to all the time. He's been a guest on the Bumcast because he's a huge Detroit fan. So we've had him on the Bumcast way back in the day, talking about the Detroit Tigers and the Detroit Lions. But it's been a while since we caught up, and we've been looking forward to this. We've been DMing back and forth. We're going to talk all things movies next week on the Bologna Show and all things Oscars with our guy, Bobby Pants. So tune in next week. Get your guys' Oscar predictions ready. Maybe we'll win a little bit of money because now you could bet on the Oscars. Maybe we'll give you some favorites, maybe some underdogs, and everyone can win some money. But once again, thank you guys so much. Thank you to everyone in the comments. Thank you to Gordo and everyone else for the super chats. Thank you to Bobby Demars and Blind Barrels. They're doing some amazing things. Thank you to Jason. And thank you to everyone on the screen and also listening to Spotify and Apple Music. I talked about it last week. We're now in podcast form. I saw the subscriptions going up. Like, subscribe, share, all of that fun stuff to the YouTube, to the Spotify, to the Apple. It goes a long way in letting us do both the Chicago Sports Bums things and the Bologna Show things. So we'll see you next week with Bobby Pants. I'll smell you.
Goodbye for today.